I bring up all this personality stuff and how much fans enjoy seeing you, especially me, your personality and what you do online, to get to some heavier stuff. Because with COVID and the murder of George Floyd and the resulting response from America finally opening their eyes to the struggles that Black people have been facing for hundreds of years, I was genuinely moved by Ian Desmond's Instagram post this past week. Did you get to read it?
Yeah, I definitely read through that, and it was definitely moving to hear and read some of the things that he had to talk about for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff stuck out to me. I mean, honestly, it's been sort of plaguing me all week, and it's been mentioned by Amir Garrett, a former guest on the show as well, in a sort of roundabout way on Instagram. But one part I can't shake. It involves Ian bringing up sort of a good old boy culture that exists in baseball and what he describes as quote unquote white rules to the sport. Don't have fun, don't pimp home runs, don't play with your character, don't do anything fancy. It's kind of the opposite of what the NBA has sort of found popularity within. And it started to hit me that this eye for an eye, you throw your bat, you get hit, or it feels kind of racial, and it obviously did to Ian Desmond as well. What did you take out of that angle on it?
Yeah, I mean, there are some unwritten rules to this game and to this sport that we play in. There's so many rules that are unwritten, so many things and so many creeds and guidelines that that you're a part of and that you have to be taught in this game. And there are a lot of there's ways that people take things. They take things two different ways. I definitely like to look at it. And Adam Jones has said this before as well. He said, if I get mad or if I throw my bat and I get heated in a situation, I'm deemed angry. But they said, if there was a white guy who does the same thing, he's deemed a gamer. And he was like, and there are certain situations like that, to where you do see two different sides taken in two different ways, even though it's two people doing the same thing. And that does happen in this game. There are unwritten rules in this game that we feel like we have to abide by. And at the same time, I just feel, there needs to be change in it, and there needs to be an understanding of what we're talking about and ways that we need to go about it here, coming from here and moving forward in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about, the Yankees came to mind. You played there. Obviously, the shaving of the beard requirements, not overshadowing the jersey, letting that kind of be the star. This morning before we talked, the Yankees organization said that they look forward to sort of the Black Lives Matter movement showing itself in the game. It's difficult for me to accept those rules in 2020, that even the shaving of the beard, which seems so minuscule, but it's like the individualism of baseball and the issues with Black representation in the league. It seems like they're not catering to what maybe the Black community might be looking for in baseball back in the day with Ken Griffey Jr. and people me and you looked up to.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a great organization to be a part of. To don those pinstripes, for me, it was an honor. It was something that I felt I would never have the opportunity to do. So even though it's the same game, you definitely feel a sense of, like you feel a little more, in a sense, powerful when you put that uniform on. But, those policies, shaving and letting the jersey speak for itself, I definitely do think it takes away from our individualism as players and as people. We express ourselves in different ways. For me, when I was on the Pirates and me having my dreadlocks, I'd be lying to you if I said if I had to go to got traded over to the Yankees and they said you got to shave your hair. For me, that was a very tough thing to do because that was who I was. That was how I expressed myself. That's who made me Andrew McCutchen. That's how people noticed who I was. It made me unique. I think, especially in this year, the year of 2020, I think, I just feel like these things are should be things that people should take at heart and realize that, we have a way of expressing ourselves in different ways. And I definitely feel like maybe there should be some change there in the future. Who knows when, but yeah, those are just one of the many things in this game that I feel it needs to be talked about. It needs to be addressed.
I mean, what can we do? So Desmond brings up only one Black GM, two Black managers, now less than 8% Black players. I'm a 40-year-old who idolized. I mean, I was laying in bed last night sort of thinking over this interview. I was thinking of the Dwight Goodens, the Darryl Strawberries, the Ken Griffeys, obviously, even down to the Kevin Mitchell year in the Giants. Like, these guys were top of their game. What happened it seems like a trickle down from the front office down that the African American culture just hasn't gravitated towards baseball.
Yeah, you definitely have to try and pinpoint this. And believe me, I've been trying to pinpoint this for quite some time and quite some years now. The game in itself, because I remember I had guys who I admired as a little kid. When I sat down in front of the TV and I would watch someone who looked like me and someone who I wanted to play the game like, being someone like Ken Griffey Jr., watching him play this game with a flair that stood out amongst so many other people. I wasn't looking at his color as a young kid. I wasn't saying because he's black, I have a chance. I was just looking at him because he just was different. And he played the game with a flair that no one had. And for me, that resonated with me because I wanted to do that same thing as a kid. So I tried to emulate him in so many ways. And I just feel like with the game now, there's so many different outlets. And I talked about this before in an article, talking about the game and the access to the game, the amount of money that has to be spent, and realizing that it is so hard for families to be able to provide for kids, especially kids of color, inner city kids who have families that are making lower income. This game has just become a game that is expensive. So it kicks those kids out at a certain point. It kicks them out to where they can't keep continuing to play this game if they want exposure. If they want to be on these teams that are the teams to be a part of. It gets to a point where there's a line that they can't cross because the game just becomes too expensive. The accessibility of it becomes too hard. So I think that's just what's happened over time is, these games, these tournaments, these teams is starting to cater to an upper class of people who can afford to play the game and to be able to make it further and to be seen. It just starts to cater to a certain class. So I think that's what's starting to happen, honestly. That's just one of the things. And we know the statistics, especially in black families. The single family home is pretty big in the black families, in the black community. And it's hard for those families to be able to provide for those kids to play this game.